are watching CIOTV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Info Media.
Good morning, gentlemen. It is a real honor and pleasure to have you on this virtual roundtable on a very, very interesting topic. And as the world is kind of being blown by the storm of AI and the LLMs and DeepSeek and everything, some of the core problems of the world are not taking that much prominence. And the session today we're going to talk about is a very relevant topic as to how we look at Industry 4.0 and what is the implications that we see in the coming age where AI is going to play a very, very important role. With the expertise that my fellow panelists have today, I think we'll have a very, very interesting discussion. And I will kind of ask each of the panelists to give their opening remark, introduce yourself, give their opening remark on what they think about Industry 4.0 in their perspective. It is important to bring it in perspective from the various domains that you guys bring in. I know, Vibhu, you bring in from a more a service provider and a thought leader domain perspective. Prasoon brings it from a more a solution for enabling Industry 4.0 with digital twin technology. And Ebrahim is an end user and wants to implement some of the things for his customers. So with that context, if you guys can introduce yourself and give a little perspective of what do you think about where the industry is moving, that would be really great. So over to you, Vibhu.
All right. Thank you, Piyush, and good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased to be in a very important subject of Industry 4.0. So I'm Vibhu Kapoor, Regional Vice President for Epicor Software. I'm heading the region of Middle East, Africa, and India. And I think it's my honor to be presenting these three nations because all three in some capacity are emerging markets. And the usage of Industry 4.0 tools in such markets has a different flavor, different methodology compared to the more mature organizations. In my role, I oversee the sales, marketing, business operations, service, etc., name it, for my organization. And overall, I have about 22 years of experience. I've been in the Middle East for a very long time, and I've worked with vendors like SAP, Infor, Microsoft, and a couple of more advanced AI technology tools. And I would say in my 20-year journey, since we're talking about Industry 4.0, in my 20-year journey, I have seen massive advancements on the tools and technologies which are getting adopted. And really proud that I'm based in the Middle East because the type of support which the government is providing to various organizations in adopting these tools and technologies is immense, whether it's Saudi, whether it's UAE, whether it's some of the other smaller countries within the region. So we as an organization help our customers take on these tools and technologies. And my perspective is Industry 4.0 is a very broad perspective. There are various tools and technologies. And one thing I can say is organizations which have tried to boil the ocean at the same time, taking on a lot of technologies at the same time, will not be successful. It's a journey, take baby steps, start with the foundation and proceed further. Having the right ERP system in the first place is the step one, but then moving on to advanced technologies like digital twins, and I think Prasoon, you will cover that later on. I mean, the potential is immense, and my last closing statement will be, we are already at the cusp of entering Industry 5.0, where humans and robots will be back on the shop floor working hand in hand and do more meaningful tasks. Thanks for having me here, Piyush.
No problem. Very insightful. And I think, as you rightly said, one of the important things to realize and maybe for our audience is to understand that Industry 4.0 or even 5.0, I know people have been talking about 6.0 even of late, is not a tool, is not a technology, is not, it's an entire revamping of the entire solution which runs factories, right from How do you manage your people? How do you manage the technology? How do you manage the automation? How do you manage your data? So there are various aspects of technology which needs to come and play to create that Industry 4.0 experience which is out there. And I'm really proud to say that the government here is taking a very, very bold step in that direction. It has already created multiple white papers in terms of it is kind of recommending how industries can adopt Industry 4.0 technologies within their operating system, which is there. So, with that in context, if I were to move on to you, Prasoon, what do you see the various aspects of these advancements are, and a little bit about yourself?
So thank you, Piyush, and thanks to all the fellow panelists. Welcome, Vibhu and Ebrahim. So to the panel, very delighted to meet you all. So I'm Kumar Prasoon. I'm the group CIO for Twyn. So Twyn is fundamentally into industrial digital twins. We call it industrial metaverse, especially. So a phygital platform which basically which has the virtual replica of the whole plant infrastructure, and then basically we integrate the same thing with your OT, IT, and SCADA and applications systems. So we call it DCS, the distributed control systems. So coming back to the point, now this is what exactly. So your question was, so Vivu mentioned the way that he has seen the transformation. Now I'm talking about the real transformation which is happening. So and I'll definitely love to talk about uh, some of the very unique things which are happening right now, especially in different sectors. If I may. So one of the thing is especially in the oil and gas sector. So now oil and gas is one of the most, since we are based in Middle East, so oil and gas is one of the most critical infrastructure, right? So especially the heavy duty rigs, when where you have so heavy duty operations going on. Now think about those rigs where you have to manage the multiple SCADA screens, the screens which are you getting on the ground, and you ought to take some of the very, very tough decisions related to production. Yeah. So now that's where we are talking about the complete integration of the whole OT and DCS systems with a virtual replica, which are industrial BIM, which is the Building Information Modeling certified, and you get an exact view of what is happening with your assets. So you get a live, connected, immersive view of the whole assets and ecosystem. And that's where the whole story is. That's where the whole thing is. I mean, you get a more and more detailed view of your assets, and also you get a kind of index. We call it asset integrity management. So that kind of index. What is the integrity of asset? So the world is moving towards that direction. So that's answers your question where the world is moving towards. So the transformation side and where the world is actually moving towards. Another interesting side is uh, I see a beautiful coherence of course the OT/IT convergence is there, and it is happening in a very, very structured format. But one more thing is very interesting is the core engineering sector, like material science engineering or instrumentation engineering or CAD CAM engineering or such kind of core engineering, they are all getting integrated in a very, very structured manner. And and based on that, uh, it's very, very important. It's very, very important that they all get structured and you get a real value of it.
Mm.
And that's how the whole system and the ecosystems are getting impacted. The CXOs and the board members that getting enough time in sense of getting the deep data insights and taking the right decisions, which saves a lot of efforts, time, and energy, and especially the bottom line part of it.
Perfect. No, I think this is very insightful, and I think technologies like Twin really help in solving the puzzle, right? So, and Industry 4.0 adoption is a multi-year, disciplinary program in itself. And if you don't know how all these parts come together, and what will my end state look like? And that is where the so-called digital twin technology is helping organizations visualize where you see or what could be the end goal. And if there are any tweaks and changes that you need to do, you can do it much early rather than building it and then realizing that these things don't work in the context that you are running on. So, very, very appropriate, Kumar Prasoon, for enlightening us. Now, moving on to the
Piyush,
end consumer.
if I may
Sure, sure.
add one sentence to what Kumar was saying, and this is what we saw regarding the digital twin. I think COVID in some way really brought in the advancement of it, because if you have the right digital twin and it's the factory of the future, you can actually monitor your assets. You can do actual tasks sitting remotely. And COVID was the very particular example where you could not go to the factories, you could not go to the warehouse. So, in such scenarios, having the digital twin technology placed well in advance is really helpful. Also, big safety feature. I believe without putting the human right in the difficult zone, you can do a lot of tasks. But yeah, over back to you, Piyush.
No problem. I think very well said. While it may sound very easy to create a digital twin, it is not. It is a more complex thing to solve, and it requires a lot of detailed planning and effort to build a real digital twin out there. And we'll kind of delve into it further, Prasoon, when we come further. But coming on to you, Ibrahim, if you can just talk from your perspective. I know you are on the retailing side. You touch base with your customers at the back end, which manufactures cars and then ships it onto your showrooms. How do you see this industry of yours changing and embracing the advancements in this domain?
Right. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Car industry is one of, I would say, it's the most disruptive industries if you look into that. And we can see lots of changes during past years. Looking into the Industry 4.0, in fact, the way that I see is a fusion of very advanced technologies, which offers basically the transformative advantages, to the many of the businesses. And these transformative or the fundamental changes which are coming for every industry, I think is coming mainly is enabled by the integration and the synergy between very advanced technologies such as AI and IoTs, which is mainly has been basically adapted in the production side and also in the business models in general. So it is basically a move from kind of traditional or linear way of doing to some kind of dynamic environment and interconnected systems. So, and that is, I think, is the essence of the Industry 4.0 that brings additional value to many of the businesses. So I think the whole objective of applying and adapting of this technology is to operate in a smarter way and to make the things more efficient, the way that is going to happening right now. And I think at this point of time, perhaps many of the modern businesses are facing lots of challenges because of the fact that the businesses are getting globalized. So we are talking about different way of production. We are talking about different way of communicating to our customers and interacting with our customers. And we are doing different way of the chain management or supply of the chain management of the goods, because there in the entire supply chain, there are lots of different stakeholders has been involved in that process. So the complexity of the business is different, and then I think that is the place where the IoT is Industry 4.0 is coming in picture. And also in very aspects, we are talking about different aspects such as sustainability, and also the shift of preferences of today's customers towards the businesses, because their expectation of doing business is totally different right now. The businesses are very much encouraged to do the things in the very agile mode. So that means time to market is very important in today's business. And that is the place I think the industry 4.0 is coming in picture. So for our industry, yes, indeed, I'm coming from the automotive sector, retail sector, and the technologies, what we see it is very much adapted, in whether it's from the OEM side or it's from the dealership side, both. So we can talk about it more.
Perfect. So I think very valid points, Ebrahim. I think you touched upon the ways of operations going forward, and agility in your business operations, be it manufacturing or be it your delivery to the end consumer. Agile ways of operations and agile ways of working are going to be the key and important factor. And I think we'll kind of delve into this further in detail. But coming on to you, Vibhu, you deal with a lot of clients. You see diverse companies that you provide the solutions to. And particularly in the Middle East, how do you see the adoption? What are the, maybe if you can just touch upon, how do you see industries adopting it, and what are the challenges which they are facing in the context of Middle East? And I think the two economies that you can touch upon is UAE and Saudi. These are the two large economies where I think there's a big focus on manufacturing and Industry 4.0. In these geographies, how do you see your customers, and what are they kind of facing, and challenges that they are kind of overcoming?
Right. Now, Piyush, apt question, and I think for the audience, this makes a lot of sense. Now, let's narrow down to my focus area. So I'll not talk about India or Africa, but in the Middle East, you aptly rightly said Saudi and UAE are my biggest markets, especially when it comes to manufacturing. And the only industry we work is manufacturing, whether it's discrete manufacturing, make to order, engineer to order, stock to order, even fabrication and all those kind of things. So Ebrahim, automotive manufacturing or auto parts manufacturing is one of the key industries which Epicor provides software for. So in our journey, and this is the fun part of being in this part of the world, is we have customers who are really advanced and have taken on almost all the tools of the industry 4.0, and I have customers or organizations which are still running Excel based systems. So we operate in two different spectrums and trying to provide those tools. But to lay the context for the audience, what do you mean by industry 4.0? It's not one technology, it's many things. It's industrial IIoT. It is your digital twin, which Prasoon mentioned. And then there are various of the cloud. Just being on the cloud is the first step. You can't still be on the old archaic hardware systems, right? Then you have machine to machine technology, which comes through advanced manufacturing execution systems, and cyber resilient systems is part of it. Cyber security is extremely important. So all these tools and technologies, when they come together, what they make is a smart factory or factory of the future. So what we have seen is, and the way we work with our customers is, the first step we see is when customers really ask for these tools and technologies, we take a step back and we say, do you even have a digital roadmap? And organizations which are not writing a digital strategy in the first place will fail eventually, because digital strategy is not just what is required for the business, it's the buy-in from the top management. Do they have the right budgets? Do they have the right vision? Do they really want to do it? And it requires a lot of change management. It requires, and the problem which really needs to be solved over here is skill availability and skill enabling. to be able to adopt these Industry 4.0 tools and technologies. So we are seeing a broad spectrum of concerns. And Piyush, one of your questions is what are the challenges? I think the right vendors, the right ecosystem, and the third is the government initiative. So starting with the organization itself is the having the digital roadmap, but the other really key areas is are there vendors and strategic partnerships available in the market? So Epicor is one of the solution provider, Twyn is another solution provider. There are many over here, but are they prevalent with the right skills and are they educating and imparting knowledge? Number one. Do they have the right ecosystem of other vendors? Now it comes with system integrators, it comes with other organizations, service providers. Are they able to translate the product knowledge, come up with the right processes, and go and understand the pain and issues of a customer and provide that solution? Third is the government initiative, and I think I'll hone down to something what Middle East or within UAE. I'm not sure if you're aware about in 2020 the Ministry of Industrial and Advanced Technology was formed. You know, there's a very nice paper written by them, and it was not one ministry in the first place. There were two, three ministries which came together, and it became MOIAT, and then their sole objective is to increase the UAE's industrial sector contribution to the GDP. The number of one objective, and I think the audience to this particular panel should really take advantage of, is that they want to create awareness of Industry 4.0 technologies and practices in the manufacturing sector. What will it help in? It will help in further innovation in the manufacturing community. It will help organizations become more competitive. It will also lead to another big objective, and I think Ebrahim touched on this, is sustainability. Sustainability was not part of Industry 4.0, but with the technologies, now suddenly you've brought back sustainability into the industry. Only with those tools and technologies you can get that done. So my take would be that all the manufacturing organization should work closely with this ministry. They have something called the Industrial Revolution Readiness Index, and it is an Industry 4.0 program. You can actually register your factory in that program and take government's help to do the assessment of your factory. Once you do the assessment, do you require funding? And then there are banks which have tied up, like Emirates Development Bank has tied up with them, which can provide. And this is where now companies like Epicor comes in, and maybe other vendors come in and say, what can we do for you? Where we can fill the gaps, and what are the foundation steps? So we as a company provide AI infused ERP, mainly for manufacturing. It's cognitive ERP. It's no longer a transaction-based ERP system. It's a decision-making ERP system. And just as a closing comment, I really like what Ebrahim said. Agility in the shop floor is one thing, but your customers want to be agile, and I call it the Amazon effect. Amazon really spoiled the market. It made it so easy. Just go on and buy what you want to. Now, because we are buying consumer products, B2C products on the touch of a button, now this consumer is spoiled. He wants to buy a car on the touch of a button. Yeah. Now, from shopping cart, we talk about shop floor to top floor, but imagine the world where from shopping cart to the shop floor is a seamless transaction using blockchain technologies, right? Now, I'm sitting here. I don't want a car which Ebrahim is selling, which is white color. I want a purple color car. I mean, of course, I can go to a garage and wrap it, right? But I want a purple car coming directly from the shop floor, and Ebrahim has picked up that order coming from some remote country very quickly. Now he has to manufacture for very few individuals a big car at speed and at scale and deliver it on time. I think that's the stage we are getting to. And as I said, Amazon did really spoil the market. But back to you, people.
Hyper personalization is the mantra that everybody is going towards, and without and I'm really pleased at the information that you gave in terms of the initiatives and the importance that the government of UAE is giving and supporting the industry. And just to very briefly, if you can touch, and I'm seeing that nobody is talking a lot about robotics in this region. Is that because the labor costs arbitrage is not that high? Because if you go and speak to somebody in the US or Europe, Industry 4.0, they would say, oh, it has to be automated robotic solution and things like that. But in this region, it is a slightly different. If you can just briefly touch upon that.
So the point which you mentioned about the labor cost, it definitely plays a role. It definitely plays a role. You know, labor is so expensive in United States, right? So they would like to do work with the least amount of people and maximize. But um, you know, to some extent, I think Middle East is at the cusp. It is an advanced region. It is expensive. I wouldn't say Dubai is not expensive. Everybody knows it's expensive. However, Dubai also is cultural. We like we like to interact with human beings. Even if you now go to fill up petrol, uh, can't Dubai automate and have people come out of the car and fill petrol? It can, but the weather is so hot here. We need people for that, and the petrol cost is not even high. So the cultural aspect, I would say, Piyush, is not something which we can change or countries can change overnight. We need humans around us. We want them to be it. But hats off to the UAE government, hats off to Saudi government. They're also introducing robots into the workplace, into the factory, into the shop floor. It's the integration and blend, which, as mentioned earlier, is going to Industry 5.0. I think if we continue with these two aspects at the same time in parallel, we'll be way ahead of United States because US removed humans from shop floor, brought robots, and they will bring humans back to do some meaningful tasks. But UAE and Saudi and our region is already doing it in some way, though it is culturally driven. But I think that's the reason. Any other reason I can't think of at the moment, but maybe Ibrahim or Kumar can suggest why those kind of robots are still not available in this part of the world.
Yeah, sure. And I think we'll kind of delve more into it. But coming on to you, Kumar Prasoon, you have been supporting industry 4.0 adoption with the digital twin technology. Kind of walk us through how do you, or if there is any use case, or is there any case study that you want to walk through as to how industries have used this for adoption and advancement of their either production or whichever industry that you are in.
Okay. So I'll give you in a few minutes I'll give you some broader aspect, so that because I want to relate with what Vibhu mentioned about Epicor, So I think if I just talk about the use cases which are directly connected with the core ERP,
Yeah,
that will make more sense because that will, people can relate that.
100%.
So in one of the, so we have got around 4 major case studies which we want to scale, and definitely partners like SAP, Microsoft, Oracle, Epicor. They definitely play a very significant role. So basically, there are 3 or 4 things. There are 4 layers. We can say the sensors, your IIoT and cloud systems. That's one area. Second vertical is of course, the physical layer, the core, the OT layer, which is the operation technology layer, where you have the SCADA systems, you have the application systems, DCS application system, which is the distributed control systems. Third one comes the ERP systems, like all your transaction and processing data. So what we have done is, so we have created, I'm talking about the architecture, and then I'll talk about the use cases because that is going to talk about how it benefits the different industries. So now the data lake is actually getting the has the pipelines from all these multiple data sources, and then we have a full AI stack basically, which basically takes the ingest data and in the pipeline does a lot of data engineering and data classification and definitely data ontology, and then based on that a lot of the Gen AI stack automatically pulls that and builds the right kind of scenarios and injects the kind of business algorithms. Then there's a KPI layer basically, which is so there's a KPI layer which is coming from the ERP side, and there are KPI layers which is coming from the engineering side. So we do a convergence of those KPI layers. For example, Epicor, I'm thinking Epicor. So he mentioned that, so he has got an EDI, which is the electronic data interchange with the supply chain. So that data, those data sheets or those KPIs, and then there's an operational design or machine design data sheet is coming from the other system. So we integrate both of them and create unified KPIs. And now you present the whole KPI in a 3-dimensional format. That's what you mentioned. Everybody is talking about creating a digital twin, but digital twin is what you see is not actually a digital twin. The whole game is the marriage of OT and IT. from an engineering perspective. So why I gave this use cases, like I mentioned about the three different verticals, how they
Just so that, sorry to intervene, but I think if you can elaborate this term OT and IT, I think for our audience it is
yeah. So
it would,
OT, yeah, sure. So OT is so basically OT is the operational technology. So any industry has got the plant system, they have got workstations, the heavy systems, right? Now these workstations have got their mechanical, electrical, electronics kind of instruments, which are the instrumentation which is happening. Now there are softwares that sit on these kind of instruments, right? So now that whole thing which is there on the physical layer of an industry is called the operational technology. Now this operational technology generates data, but unfortunately that data sits at the plant layer. And now what is happening is the great gentlemen, the people, the workforce on the ground, they collect the data, they manually write log sheet. And then in an ERP like Epicor or SAP, they feed into their applications what exactly is the production. And 10, 15 years back, we are so happy and proud that we did a massive ERP implementation. We have the data from the ground, but actually that was not the data from the ground. That was an Excel sheet written by a human, uploaded. So basically uploaded. And Piyush, you coming from such a huge experience, whether it's retail or manufacturing, the fundamentals of data
yeah,
is everywhere. So
absolutely.
the digital transformation those days were like, okay, so you have a plant system, that system, or you had physical manual log sheets. You capture those log sheets into some kind of master data template, and then you loaded that transactional data into the ERP, and thank you very much. So that's what the automation is. Actually, that's not the automation. You have actually actually create that human touch is there, right? That human is as good as writing on a paper or writing on a spreadsheet. That human touch is already there. So why I use this example is there's a massive need for legacy modernization in most of the industries. And definitely Epicor, the way he mentioned, he's a cognitive ERP, very, very, very aptly mentioned. The cognitive ERP is very, very important to bring that kind of value in the whole supply chain ecosystem. Okay, so that's one part. So one is the OT/IT, which is the plant systems integration. Second is bringing the whole value of engineering with the data which is coming from the plant, and also aligning this with the financial aspect from the ERP. Like so if certain maintenance is done, what are the different parts which are used, and what is the cost, and if it is if it has to be ordered to a customer, what is the lead time which is going to change? I'm talking about certain very practical use case. This is how a core manufacturing firm works, because it's or talks about whole planning. And also if some kind of maintenance is required in some kind of pipeline or some kind of machines, so can I, for example, sitting in Dubai, I have to visit a plant in Indonesia or Africa, can I use the digital twin and get the data from there, get into the sites of that particular mechanical instrument, and understand whether those parameters are met as per the requirements? This is what we have executed in typically in a smart infrastructure kind of situation, be it renewable, non-renewable like fossil fuel, oil and gas, railways industry, huge use case, especially in the bridges, in the tunnels. Uh, that's a huge use case. Then also, if I summarize all of these, the CIP, which is the critical infrastructure protection, it plays a very, very huge role. Huge role. Because all these heavy industries, they are part of the critical infrastructure. So if one use case I can talk about what digital twin can offer to the whole world is the CIPS, which is the critical infrastructure protection and security. Why? Because you will have a 3D virtual replica of the core engineering system which is running your economy.
Right.
And
No, very
ERP is going
interesting.
to play, the cognitive ERP is going to play a huge role. Why? Because it will have a balance sheet, audited or balance sheet or verified balance sheet data, the dollar value, which can attach to the operational intelligence. So that's where the operational intelligence and financial intelligence can unify together in a 3D format with a 4 dimension of time.
Excellent. No, I think very insightful,
Explained.
Kumar, Prasoon. And I would say one very, very important aspect which our listeners should remember is that it's not an overnight journey, point number one. Point number two, data is going to play a very, very important role. And aggregation of data if not done properly, it will never give you the right benefit and the right value that you are looking for from this initiative. And somehow everybody still is of the view that, yeah, put in a system and, as I say, digitalize and digitize are two different words. Yeah. Digitalize is what you said, right? Yeah, I put in data and then it is in a system which is digitalized, but it has no value till you digitize the process which is there. And I think that mindset change is happening. It's good that players like both Twyn and Epicor are working towards educating the customers in that direction. But if I were to now move on to end consumer with Ebrahim, what do you see are the more aspects around adoption, sustainability, and kind of moving in this direction for industry like yours, which is into more into automobile retailing, and with the back end systems which are out there?
Yeah. So if you we said automotive industry is one of the most destructive industries. So if you look into that, I think the key drivers for that disruptions are, one is applying the technological advances into the technology, so that you can see the traditional vehicles, what we have seen is changing to some kind of mobility where the software is playing an extreme role in that. So many of this mechanical component is getting removed and replaced with the new technologies. So that is one of the aspects. The other aspects which drives also the changes in the technology is the consumer preferences, because today's consumers not only looking for the advanced technologies, but they're looking also for the sustainabilities also, how the vehicles can move more efficiently in terms of the fuel, and how the electric vehicles right now we can see in the very big way has been used in many of the countries in the UAE also. And the other part, the third driver is, I think, the regulatory pressure, which is just putting pressure on more into the businesses and the automotive sector towards going towards emission standards and data privacy and then safety regulation. So these are some of the aspects. But I think the main driver, if we look into that three aspects, is the consumer preferences, which their expectation is much more towards the sustainability of the vehicles. No, in that regards, I think recently there are lots of electric control units has been built into the vehicles, and then which do different part of the the functionality of the vehicles, such as the controlling of the performance for the fuel efficiency, climate control, etc., etc. But then one of the oldest disruptions which is getting built today in today's world into the vehicles, all of this is shifting basically towards the sustainability and technology reliance and needs for the transportation, basically.
No, very great. I think the customer preferences are changing, and I think customers demanding more and more. And I think that is kind of pushing the manufacturers, the retailers, to adapt to those preferences very, very fast. And I think industries need to be aware of these preferences. Otherwise, you will end up with the Nokia moment anytime with the fast changing preferences which are out there.
Yeah.
So now I think we would be coming to the last part of it, and we cannot end this without talking about the most hot topic in the world today is AI, right? And how there's a storm of AI, and everybody is believing that everywhere there will be AI. There is DeepSeek, which is bringing a deep disruption all around. And I think it's just a beginning. But from what you see, how is this advancement in the so-called generative AI platforms, which are becoming and kind of proliferating very, very fast? How will that impact 4.0? If you can just be very brief in a minute, and then kind of talk about it, that would be great. So we'll start with Ebrahim. If you can just give a very brief understanding of how generative AI and Industry 4.0 can merge.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so no, the AI is definitely is a new trend in the market, which is adds is a different age or different dimensions to many of the businesses in terms of achieving their competitive advantages. So if you look into the automotive industry, there are lots of use cases we can see where the AI and generative AI, Gen AI has been used. One, we can talk about the virtual assistant and the chatbots, which is very widely has been used currently, and the objective of that is just to basically enhance the customer experience, just to provide the consumers with the fast type of information. And this type of systems basically is these days is learning very fast and then improved very rapidly during the recent years. The things like the processing of the natural languages is very fast in such systems. The virtual assistants, typically it can be used for the lead generations, for the things where the labor intensive is for the jobs. It can be used just to communicate online with the customers once we are talking about if you have any lead overdue, or if you want just to encourage any customer just to take your products or services in the market. So that's one aspect which we are very widely using that aspect for one of our brands. Then you have other part, which is the chatbot indeed, which is typically it can be used once you have a WhatsApp communication, and also in the contact center it can be used, because today contact center is the forefront of all the communications. The communication, it has to be, it has to be personalized in a way that you're taking the calls and responding to your customer. It should be in the very fast way. Again, going back to the customer expectation, because they prefer to be communicated and treated in this way. So chatbot is one of the new chatbot is very good mechanism just to help us basically just to fulfill that type of requirements.
Excellent. I think very valid use cases of how Gen AI can be used in your industry. Coming to you, Vibhu, what are your customers asking, saying, how can I get a AI within the Industry 4.0?
Yeah, no. So one of the use cases which Ebrahim mentioned about chatbots, etc., I think that's quite prevalent. It's quite advanced actually. It's been there in the market. But increasingly, what we are seeing with our customers is on the business intelligence side. So you have the cognitive ERP. The data is, let's say, the data is correct. You spoke about garbage in, garbage out, right? So if the data is fine, now we already always had BI tools. BI tools have been there in the market. ERP comes with their own business. What is business intelligence? It tell you what is happening, when it is happening. When you put the AI layer on it, it will start telling you why it is happening. But that's the Gen AI part. Now the advanced AI or the responsible AI part is, why, what's happening, when it's happening. The AI told you why it is happening. The next level is, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about it? So it's like, how do you
Decisions.
solve the problem?
Yeah.
It's outcome. It's action-based.
Correct.
BI is what AI is. And that's what our customers is asking. So I have my knowledge, I have my experience, I have my intelligence, but I also want to now club it with what the system is telling me.
Mm.
What AI is telling me and what my 50 years of experience or my grandfather's experience in the business, in the manufacturing business, is it correlating, right? And the next level after that, where more automation is plugged in, and I think we've not reached that stages. If AI is telling that do this to solve a particular problem or take care of the future, do I really need to do it, or will the AI system do it for me?
Mm.
So this is where my customers journey, and again, as I said, these are different layers of customers. I have customers who are still on Excel, and they're just putting the transaction based ERP in place, and I have customers who are running Epicor for about 10 years, and now I've given them a BI tool, and now they want AI in that BI tool, etc. And then everybody's at their journey. But before I pass it back to Piyush, I think we speak a lot about AI. Everybody's talking about it, but I think it's very important to touch about the concerns which AI can bring in. And I'm trying to be the devil's advocate here. Nothing to worry, but so first of all, AI is not the word to be used on its own. It should be responsible AI. If AI is not going to bring 10x value to the organization, I think you need to know why you need the AI for, what's the value it's going to bring, and the value has to be exponential over time.
That's right.
Responsible AI is a big thing. One of the classic cases that you can read it online. One of the places ChatGPT was giving answers in Spanish, very small error, but it wasn't required. It was an English place. So problems can happen. You need to understand what the current skills are to take on such a task. So that's the other concern which people need to be worried about. Third is the Murtech law of automation adoption. Organizations, if you look, they grow organically.
Mm.
They get more business, they invest, they grow, they invest. Technology or industry on its own is not growing organically, it's growing exponentially. So
Correct.
their graph is going this direction, organizations are going in this direction. Now, if this organization try to come here, it won't match. Technology you cannot bring here. So you need to find the middle path somewhere that you need to keep bridging the gap slowly and steadily. So having the digital roadmap is important.
No, very well
Last,
said. And I think the foundations and the pillars on which you will step on the AI journey is very important. And somehow they don't do a lot of due diligence as to what is needed to get that exponential value. And then you end up doing and blaming AI at the end of it. AI is all good, but I think since you didn't have the right foundational elements in place, hence you are not able to get that value. So coming on to you, Kumar Prasoon, where do you see will AI all encompass everything that you guys are doing, or how do you see it?
Very good question, actually. It's a very relevant question, and I'll try to summarize from all our fellow panelists here. So from the takeaways I had, one was the cognitive part, which Vibhu mentioned, very interesting. The how their ERP is mentioned, and Ebrahim talking about the the contact centers, which are playing a very important role. So okay, so I see AI from both the sides. I mean, the digital transformation with AI is happening from both the sides, from the front end as well as from the back end. So from the front end, definitely in terms of having the right kind of accuracy, the decision making, the insights, the analytics, of course, your training on your models, especially to give you I'm talking the front end side, what the customer is receiving. Yeah. So definitely all those models training and getting into more deeper algorithms, creating the right kind of insights, especially on the decision making side, the remediation part, and also the TAT, also connecting with multiple disaster or recovery systems or business continuity management systems, so that the authorities are galvanized into a spontaneous action in case of any kind of contingency or something. So from the front end side, I see that's a huge use case. From the back end side, the way I mentioned, there are multiple layers. Now, AI has a very amazing role. Yeah, because I come from a very solid, because this is a platform, right? So we have got into the super depth of it. Interestingly, the first use is on the data acquisition side. We get huge data from the OT, the sensors and the SCADA systems, which are in different formats. So So we need to have some kind of data governance practice, especially making sure that the data that we are getting from the source, so data detection or data at the source, where there's a huge role, where certain rule engines can play a much bigger role. These rule engines, when they collect data, then you can have the right kind of AI models, especially on those data pipelines. Second is on the once you have the data from different sources, how the algorithms can be utilized for for their I should say transformation. So how the data, the whole ETL process, the extraction, transformation, and loading part, that's where it can be used. Third is creating the right kind of hospital kind of things for data. The hospital, I mean, when there's a data loss or breach or something happening between any of the layers, then how AI can fix it, auto fix that, or create a log of that. I'm talking from the backend point of view.
Yeah.
What are the different use cases from a product side
Yeah.
which can help,
If you can be little brief because we have to wind up.
Sure, sure. So these are some of the areas, and also last but not the least, the matured business algorithms, which can really deliver the right kind of customer insight in terms of analytics. So these are the four layers where in the product side, definitely there's a huge advantage. From the front end side, definitely is from the business content management, from the communications management, from the remediation and recovery, those kind of things. Definitely, they play a major role.
100%. No, I think very aptly pointed out, saying that there are multiple layers of adoption that needs to go through. And I think with that, we would like to bring this to the close. If I have to just summarize, very, very insightful conversation. We talked about how the government is leading some of these initiatives and how industries can actually reach out to the government to get them certified, to get them assessed, and do that. How Prasoon talked about how digital twin as a technology can be adopted to bring in future visibility of what they're trying to do on their journey and path. And Ebrahim kind of alluded to what the customer experience means and how the entire backend needs to adapt in terms of sustainability, in terms of customer preferences, and so on and so forth. And I think to me, it paints a very, very bright and a rosy picture to say that the industries in the GCC area need to adopt this, but with a word of caution, saying that do it in the right way. Don't expect any miracles and overnight success. It's a journey. Make sure that your data platforms, your cultural organization, your people change management, all that is taken care of before you celebrate success in this journey of Industry 4.0. Thank you, panelists, for joining today. It was pleasure meeting you and sharing and learning from you guys. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Piyush.